This will get started. Yeah. Right.
Can I ask you a couple questions before we proceed?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I was reviewing the previous videos sessions, and in the one before the last one, you were talking about the messaging. Unfortunately, I missed that class that day. So, by the way, the recording, the last few minutes, there was no sound at all. So I'm not sure what happened there in the recording. But my question is related to the messaging and how we're using them in MDM. So my understanding is, as you said, that it's for real-time
integration with the
integration, right, in downstream system. But I think you mentioned something about inbound messaging and outbound messaging.
Yes.
So my understanding was that those outbound messages, that's the integration with outbound systems, and
yes.
if we want to pass the data to those systems, we can, pass it in the form of XML, for example, and then we'll take the data and update the systems, right?
Yes, correct.
And we are setting up those triggers that determine that the data changed in the base object, and those changes needs to be passed to outbound system, to source
yes,
system,
correct.
right?
Yes, correct. Yes, correct.
Okay, but my question is this then: what about the inbound? Like how? I'm not sure if did you talk about the inbound process, or it's something outstanding, or
inbound is basically the internal process. When we are making any changes, the inbound process identifies that there are some changes that are happening, and that only it puts that into the MQ data change table. So MQ data, identifying that there are some changes happening and putting that into the MQ data change, that is a part of the inbound queue. And the outbound queue is basically takes the data from.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. So it's a terminology thing. I misunderstood, I guess. So the inbound is something that happens inside of the MDM, and outbound that what goes out. That's what it meant.
Yes, correct. So because outbound queues we configure that I want 2 outbound queues, I want 3 outbound queues. So I will configure the outbound queues based on the source system. If I have 3 source downstream systems which wants MDM data, I need to configure 3 outbound queues separately for each of the systems. And because
how is, I mean, messaging, is it like a MQ messaging?
Yeah.
Is it like, yeah, so it's a asynchronous messaging, right? We are talking about.
Yes, correct.
So we define those messaging, and I can understand that we need to define this message to go out. But when you say the inbound messaging, I'm not completely understand what it means.
No, inbound, like you can just say that, as I told, like inbound is the internal process when we are making a changes. Like in the base objects, we are defining the triggers. So when any changes is happening in the particular base object, at that time, inbound knows that there are some changes and it puts the data into your MQ data change table. So that's basically the task of an inbound. And the outbound is responsible that whenever a data comes into the C repos MQ data change table, it has to publish the data to the downstream system. So that's the responsibility of the outbound.
So we're talking about the same MQ. It's not like two different MQs.
Yes.
It's a one. So when we're putting the data in MQ, it's inbound, and when the message goes out, and as you said, it's published, then that's what outbound. Okay, I got it. Thank you. And one more question.
Yes.
This is related to the last session. So we were talking about hierarchy.
Yes, correct.
And so does it mean that when we build the base object, we created basically a relational database, right? There are some the relational database based on Oracle. But we were talking about hierarchy and we said that, well, if we need to create those relationships, to show the relationships, we can create those hierarchies. So,
like we discussed yesterday, like we have a customer table. Here we are taking two tables, but yesterday, like we discussed, that if we have a customer table, and in the customer table, customer, we can say for example, employee table. We have an employee table, and where all the employees are listed. So in those employees, there might be a senior manager, and employee. Three levels might be there, or multiple levels. So I want to maintain those levels. So I want might be a relationship table just between the employees, that this employee is related to the other employees, and in which sense it is related. So that's basically a hierarchy. And if I want to,
so basically we are creating additional relationships that exist between different objects, in addition to the relational database that we have. So the one we want to show maybe to customers or something like that.
Yes.
Okay. So then my question is this: what relation does this has to management of master data? Like what? I mean, my understanding was that we want to manage master data, so we do those matching and we do the cleaning and we produce the one source of truth, right?
Yes.
So how the relationship helps us to do that, or what relation it has to this process?
Mainly like that we have implemented the real-time scenario is basically on the different tables, like for example, customers and their policies and their addresses. So that's a hierarchy. Whenever like the business opens a particular customer, he can identify, okay, like what are the different types of policies he has taken. And under the policies, we have like addresses. If he clicks on more details, he will get the addresses. Like what is the different types of addresses the person has registered. So he can go through that part, or he can open up policy and see like how many persons are related to that policy. Just on a high level, he wants to see all this data.
Okay, so it basically will help the business to understand how the different objects relate, and
this is just putting the data, because see, usually it is said like that, but obviously it will go to the data warehouses. There only we will have some reporting tool using which they will generate different types of report for analysis purpose. There is just a basic reporting, we can say, where just the management might see that when they open a person record, how many policies are he has purchased. So you don't, because once we go to the IDD part, I will see all the columns. A customer table or a policy table might have some 100 columns. So they don't want to see at a column level all the details, just a high level that, okay, when I open a customer, he has taken a life insurance and suppose a health insurance. That's it, two things. So like this, he just wants just a view basically.
I see. Okay.
Not much meaningful, because there is just a different view he wants to see about the data at a high level instead of seeing all the column level details. That's the only purpose. Here we cannot do like much reporting purpose, because once that it is passed to the data warehouses, there only we will have those reporting tools like DI or other things, Tableau, we can use to generate the reports according to the what they need basically.
Okay, I see. Thank you very much.
Vinay, before starting the session, I have a question.
Yes.
Regarding match.
Yes, still.
Can I? Yeah. For example, we have created a match in party level. Party
yes.
And party name, party table and person. Two customers are merged in party table, right? So when it comes to child table or person table, so how child table will identify those particular customers are merged, and those related records in child table, how it will identify and it will merge based on customer ID, or Is there any other
Yeah.
process?
Yes. No, the same customer ID. I think should have some. Let's see. Okay. This one, this example that we had discussed previously about the merge. So suppose like this is my customer table, this is my base object. In my base object, I have loaded two records. So row ID object 1 and row ID object 2 records are there. And similarly, in my cross-reference table also, I have these columns. Like row ID object is there, then we have original row ID object and the customer name. So these are the details in my parent table. Just I am talking about the customer table as of now. So at a later point of time, we identified that when we run the match process, Emblem told that these both records are duplicate. 1 and 2 are duplicate and they have to be merged into each other. So what I did is I merged the second record into the first record. So only the first record is surviving and the value from second is the surviving one. So because base object contain only unique records, so that's why it got deleted. Now in the cross reference, what happens is the reference gets changed. Otherwise no change is there. You can see row ID xref is same, row ID original row ID object is same, customer name is same, everything is same, just the row ID object gets changed. So similarly, if we talk about, like, suppose we have an address table, just put and just so in this also, like this we saw that what will happen in my row ID xref parent table, that is the customer table, the row ID object reference gets changed. Similarly, this is my address table. In the address, I had previously two addresses and I have mentioned that address 1 belongs to customer 1, address 2 belongs to customer 2. So now because the second record is merged into the first record, so that is why the reference gets changed in my child tables. So customer ID 1 will show as reflect as 1 for both the records in my address table. So now it becomes easy for us to identify it. So when we go and try to match the addresses, we will say that I want to use customer row ID as an exact column. So wherever the customer ID 1 is matching, it will be a match. So that's why we always match the parent table. First go and match all the parent records. Once that is done, then you can come and match the child records.
Okay, apart from that, we don't need to create any additional match columns, right? Only customer ID.
No, we have to create. Customer ID is fine, but we will be still creating all the, means if you just use customer ID, that is also fine, but still we use like other columns also.
Okay, okay. Okay, got it.
We will be using address line 1, city, state code. I mean, we can use all of them, but we will use this column as an exact column. So it is fine means if it is exact means it will match all the records where we have one. So based on that, we can try to match the record, merge the records.
Okay, okay. Thanks, Vinay. Got it.
Vinay?
Yes.
I have a follow-up question. Can you go back to the spreadsheet?
Yes. Sure.
Again, maybe you did talk about this before, but I understand that because of the parent table was merged, then it's easy to identify which rows from the child table we need to match, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, and that's why we put the exact match on the customer row ID.
Yes.
Right? Now, my question is this. What if the parent table did not, there was no change and there is no, we didn't merge it. But then there are two rows in the child table that we still need to match and merge. But then in this case, we cannot do it by the customer ID because they will be different, right?
Yes.
So
we should not do also because my parent is this customer. So unless the customers are same, we cannot go and merge the addresses. If we identify my parent record is same, like two customers are same, then only I can go ahead and merge the addresses. I cannot come directly to address and merge two addresses because they look similar enough.
Right, but my question is, like, if we put the exact match on the customer row ID in one case, but in another case we cannot do that.
Yeah, so we can create two rules. That's correct. Means one rule we can say that I want to see all the customers which are matching. So that might be your first rule, where customer ID is an exact column. So based on that, it will try to match all the records. Then whatever are the remaining records, that will get matched on rule 2, where you might remove the customer row ID. Means I don't want customer row ID. Without customer row ID, whatever remaining records are present, try to match them and see if there some addresses are coming as duplicate records. So that will be a manual approach where the data steward will have to look into that these addresses are matching for two different customers. So what needs to be done for that? So that they have to take a call on that.
Yeah, so then it means for every child table we'll have to do this, right? We'll have to have more than one row.
Yes, we can have more than one row. Usually it is like if one is sufficient, but in case we find that some scenarios might be there where some duplicate records are there, we might create two rules, one with customer ID, one without customer ID, and then the data steward can take their call. What has to be done for those records?
Well, we may or we should.
Depend on the data. If everything is getting matched properly, means once we have analyzed the data and we see that there is no issue, whatever customers we have matched, based on that, addresses are matching correctly. There is no problem in that. Then we don't need. But if we feel that still once the addresses are matched, there are some duplicate records, then we can go for that. But that is very rare because even if two different addresses are there which belongs to different customers, we cannot merge them because the names are different. The customer's name might be totally different on the top parent table. So usually it is not done. Means we generally don't merge the address records based on like even if they are similar enough, unless the customers are same. So customer name has to match, then only we can match the addresses. Unless otherwise we cannot match. And not only this, whenever we go and try to match the customers, we just don't match the customers based on their names. We take customer table, means customer first name, middle name, last name, plus all the address columns also while matching the data. So that's why the other scenario will not come usually.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so yesterday we had started with the hierarchies. So there are three tables basically. Whenever we go and enable the hierarchy, we saw that these three tables gets created: C, R, BO class, which contain all the entity information. Like we had created two entities as customer and address. So it has this column as BO class code. This column contains all the entity information. Similarly, CRBO hierarchy, that's the second table which gets created, and it maintains all the hierarchy details. And the column which contains the hierarchy is like hierarchy code. And the third table is CRBO rel type. This maintains the relationship between two different entities. So whatever names, any meaningful name that we can get, that name will get stored in this table. And the column name which stores is rel type code. So these are the three tables which gets created when we enable hierarchy in our ORS. And one more thing is that if hierarchy is once enabled in the ORS, we cannot disable the hierarchy. So if you want to promote your changes from like this ORS to any other ORS, that ORS should be HM enabled. So for example, like this is the first time I am doing it here. So, and I have to promote this into the test environment. So before I can go and promote my change list in the test environment, I will have to go enable the HM, which will create these three tables. Then I can promote my change list into the other environment. Otherwise, I will not be able to promote. So if the source is HM enabled, the target also has to be HM enabled. So that we had seen, like when we had done the promotion activity, we promoted one ORS to this ORS, and this before promoting we had enabled the HM, and then only we had promoted that. So this is one. These are the three tables. Plus now whatever tables I am going to use in the HM, we should ensure that the state management is enabled for that. So just come and check like the state management. Enable state management is checked for all the base objects that you want to use. So address table, customer table, these are the three tables we are using, and the rel relationship between customer and address. So after that we can go to the hierarchies, and now we have to configure these things: entity, objects, hierarchies, and the relationship object. So what we have to do is we have to do a right click here, and we get an option to convert base object to entity base object. There we can say that I want to convert a particular base object to entity base object. And so this error we are getting that state management is not enabled. So like yesterday we have converted it. So once we do that, a checkbox will come where we have to select the BO class code. So that will convert the base object to entity base object. So whenever we convert a base object to entity base object, this column BO class code column gets added, and also the relationship gets created with the RBO class. So RBO BO class code. So automatically the relationship is also created with the lookup table. And similarly, when we convert a relationship table to a relationship object, then in that case two columns gets added: a rel type code and the hierarchy code, and also the relationship gets created with the respective tables. So once we have converted all the tables here, next is we have to create the entity types. So entity type we have created yesterday here. So this option you will get, like once you go to your entity objects and do a right click, you will get an option for entity type. So yesterday we had added two entity types for address, like address and address one. So similarly, like we were discussing about the employee table. So if we have just a single table employee between which I want to view the relationship, I can create here like manager, senior manager, employee. The levels I can create here as an entity type. So when we create it, we basically have to specify a color, and icons. So icon and color is basically using this. By looking at this icon, I can easily identify that this is an address record. And similarly, whatever records I will see, that will be surrounded by this particular color. So these are the mandatory things that we have to specify whenever we create an entity type. So we had created this address 1, and similarly for the customer, we have created a entity type as customer. Then we have to create a hierarchy. So these are the two hierarchies we created, and here we just need to give the name of the hierarchies. And finally, we had created this relationship type. So whenever we go and create a relationship type, we have to specify the entity type 1 and entity type 2. What are my entity type 1 and 2? And what is the direction? Means how we want to see the relationship, whether we want a single direction or bidirectional. So based on that, we can select here, but usually it is bidirectional so that I can see the HM both the ways. And we have to select this hierarchy, under which hierarchy I want to put my data. So once we have done all these changes, then next is the profile option. In the profile, yesterday, like we had created this admin profile. By default we have this default profile which is available. We can use this also, or we can use an admin profile. So in the profile, you will see like all the relationship types that we have created will appear here. So for MDM, like what we can do, if you have, suppose you have 5 types of relationship here, then you can create 5 profiles. Because in this profile, I just want to view customer and address data. In the other profile, probably if I have like product and organization, 2 tables are there, and I have a relationship between them. So I can create a profile for that separately. So if I have 5 relationship, I can create 5 profiles just to view the data separately between those 2. But going to the IDD application, again, we have to select a drop down. So in that case, I can select only one profile. So that's the reason whatever profile we create, we select all the relationship type here. So once we select this relationship type and click on the save button, whatever entity objects and relationship objects are related, they will come down. So you can see the similar structure which we have on the top is coming down here. Just in the address, I am getting only address, not customer. Sorry, not address 1. Because I have created a relationship between address and customer 1, these 2 entity types. So now the next step is basically to create a packages. So here you can see put package and display packages, 2 things are present. So for every entity objects and relationship object, not object, basically type, we have to create 2 packages. So totally as of now we'll have to create 6 packages here, 3 display packages and 3 put packages. So we'll create those packages now. So we don't have to go to the packages and create it. We can just do a right click here and create a package. So create new package, and it will give you an option for create packages for entity objects. And here, like if you want to put your queries in different group, like I want to put my queries in some HM queries folder. So we can create a folder, and under this I can put all my queries. So you can give a query name here. The display package first, and in the primary table I will get the name here, because only these are my entity types, entity objects, customer and address. Only these 2 are visible here as of now. And then we have to give the package name. And similarly here also the same thing. In similar way that we have created it, we can just select the business columns. That's it, and click on OK. It's taking a lot of time. So similarly, we have to create now the put package for this. Okay, so for customer it is done. Now we will have to look for the address table. So it's a bit slow, so I just opened another console also, where we can go and configure the things. So here in the for the customer, now the packages are created. The put package and the display packages both are done. So now we can configure it basically here. We can come and select the display package and the put package. So once we select the display package and put package, you will see on the down these options are there: label, common, tooltip, search, list, detail, put, and add options. So label is basically like here we can say we have some labels like MDM display package, MDM put package. So similarly we have to say tell that what is the column that I need as a display. So for example, like full name, I want full name to come as a display package. So if you click on this drop downs, you will see numbers starting from 0 to 9. 0 to 9 is coming because we have totally 10 columns. So that's why numbers are from 0 to 9. So we have to select a particular column in order basically. So we cannot say that I want a full name and then row ID object as 1. So I cannot select in reverse order. I will always have to follow the order. And also we cannot use like 0 or 1 multiple times. That is fine. You can skip something, but it should be in particular order. Similarly, tooltip is like the mouse or this first name. I want to see some values. For example, I want first name and middle name, first name and the last name column. These two columns I want as a tooltip. So once we select this, now we have to go to the label pattern here. And in this, whatever columns you have selected, like we had selected full name, the full name will come here. So just double click, it will go on the top, and then you can put some label here, like full name. So now, like when you go to the hierarchies, and whenever you open any particular record in hierarchy, it will show you full name, and with that, whatever is the actual name, full name, it will get displayed here. So this is for the label purpose, and similarly the tooltip. So whenever I will point the mouse over the full name column, I want to see the first name and the last name column. So now if I click on the tooltip, I will get both of them, first name and the last name. So now here again I can put something here so that I can easily identify what is the column. And say something like this. So we can put in any format we need, and whatever format we need, we can see the preview also, how the preview will come. Okay, so in the meantime, I will just create one more package for the address. Okay, so now once these two are done, label and the tooltip, now we have to give these options common. In the common, we don't need to select anything, we just need to select a common system column which is present in both the packages, the put package and the display package. So I can select just the row ID object here, that's it, no other column is required. The next is the search. Search is basically on what columns you want a user to search in HM for a particular record. So basically those are the business users who want to search the data. So they don't know what is the row ID object, what is the hub state indicator, or what is a BO class code here column. So for them, they are only concerned about the business columns. So we can ask them basically what are the columns, like here a lot of columns are there. On what columns we want to do a search. So suppose they say that, okay, I want to do a search on like full name column, or first name column and the middle name column, last name column suppose, and we can select this name generation set. So these are the columns basically on which I want to do a search. So I will just put these values. So whenever we go and try to search for any particular customer record, I will see only these 4 columns. So this is a basically search. After you do a search, it will show you all the records, the matching records basically. So in this matching records, what are the columns you want it to be displayed? Suppose I will say that when I do a search, I want everything to be displayed at that time. I want first name, full name, first name, middle name, last name, all the columns to be displayed with the data. So in this case, I will select all the business columns here. So I can select here all the business columns. Similarly, there is a detail option. If I want to see more details about a particular record in HM, I can click on view details. So in this, what are the columns you want? So again, I can select only these columns, business columns. If you want to select the row ID object or the hub state indicator, we can always select that also. And similarly, put and add. Put will be required for editing the data and add for adding the data. So in case you say that I want a user to edit a record, or I want a user to add a record in HM, we can give these privileges. So usually, as we know that no one is going to insert any record in MDM as such, probably they might update a record. So that updating a record, you want to provide a flexibility from HM, then we can give the access here. If you say that no, I don't want a user to edit a record from when he is in HM, then we can just don't give that access. So he will have only read access. He will not be able to update anything or add any record here through the HM. As of now, I'll just put it so that we can see the data in HM. Means we can modify the data or we can add the data. But usually in the real time, it is not used. Means no, as we still know that no one is going to at least add a record. They might update a record. If you say that yes, fine, anyone can update a record, then it's fine. Otherwise, don't give this privilege.
Vinay,
yes.
What? So add is to add the record, and what does put do?
Put will help used to update the record.
Oh, so put is for update, add for add. Insert.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Okay. And is it common to give the access to the users or not to give this privilege? What is?
We usually give that access because we know that no one is going to update insert any record from IDD application because everyone uses IDD application. So even if we give, there is no issue in that because no one is going to insert any record from HM as such. But update is fine. But these are basically by the end users or the business people. So they will never go and insert or update any record. They will just use it for viewing purpose. So even if you give this is fine.
What effect it has on the MDM if someone will add the record? Like,
if you add the record, it will get inserted into the tables as a new record.
To the base table.
Yeah, correct. Into the base table, or if you are trying to add a relationship, it will go into the relationship table as well.
Okay.
Because from HM we can create both the things. I can create a customer record, I can create an address record, and even I can create a relationship record also. Everything can be done from HM also. Basically,
okay.
HM.
And what happens with this record when, the next time we run it? It will go through the whole matching and merging process?
Yes, it will go. Because that's a normal record.
So is it possible that someone inserted the record and next time you ran it, it disappeared because it was merged with something else?
Might not disappear, it will not be, but it will, if it is getting merged with any other record, then it will be still there. Just the reference will get changed.
I mean, the system should determine which record is a good record, right?
Yes,
so,
yes.
Based on all the criteria that we built. So I guess probably if the business person will do this change, they know what they're doing. We assume that they know what they're doing.
Yes, that is what it is expected, that if any business user is making a change, he knows like this is a correct thing that he is doing, and then only he is trying to update a record. So insert, no one does, no one basically, because we get all the records from a particular source system. So no one inserts any record, but update they can do, and if they are doing update, it goes in an admin system record. So whatever update they do, it always gets promoted at the base object level.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So similarly, we'll do it for the address also. Again, for the address also, both the packages are created. So again, we can select like address line 1 here and tooltip, for example, as city. And then again, all these columns like search list display. So this, in the meantime, we'll create the packages for this relationship because this is taking some time. So when we are going and creating a package for relationship table, I have to select the second option, create package for relationship object. And when we are going and creating a package for relationship object, we don't have to select anything as such because everything, all the columns you can see here, customer, address, hierarchy, everything is selected by default, all the business columns. So just click on the finish button, it will get created. So there is a manual activity that we have to do. If there are a lot of columns, we'll have to still do manually. There is no option which is provided where I can do it and select everything at the same time because I know that all the things has to be selected. And then again the label and the tooltip. So for the customer table and the address table, we have filled up all these details. Just one thing is remaining, that is the relationship table. So for that, as of now, only display package is done. So once the footer is done, we can go and configure this relationship also. And then basically we have to validate the profile, whether whatever configuration changes we have done is correct or not. As of now, just suppose like as of now, if I go to the admin profile, there is an option to validate. So using this validate, I can validate whether my HM configuration looks fine or not. So here you can see it will give an error. The hierarchy manager configuration is not complete. Column has not been configured for hierarchy manager, and it will give you also for which one it is not configured. So relationship type has. So for the relationship type, we have not configured. Or if we have, as I told, like if in case we are putting the same numbers again, in that case also it will throw an error. So we know that there is something wrong or it is not done yet, so we can go back and configure it properly. Okay, so now it is coming here.
What is this order field option? Just press right mouse button and the table will open order field. So,
sorry.
In the notes, number 4.
Oh no, that was an antivirus. It was asking to restart the system. So I just postponed it.
No, that's not what I was talking about. Here, on this page, number 4, in the notes, it says
okay,
there's some autofill.
Yeah, one.
What is autofill?
Yes, this page you're talking about?
No, the one you were on when you will fill out the table.
Here?
Yeah, see it? There are notes in the middle of the page. It says notes. Number 4, press the right mouse button in the table below to remove autofill option. I'm guessing that you can fill the whole table quicker by hitting autofill.
Sorry, George, your voice is breaking. Can you come again?
Okay. In the middle of the page, do you see notes?
Sorry, notes where?
Above the table. Above the table, it says notes.
Yeah, notes. Okay.
Right. So number 4, note number 4.
Okay. I don't. Oh. Okay. Okay. Yeah, X option is there. Okay.
No
Thanks.
autofill. No
Yeah.
autofill.
Yeah, option is there. A lot of options are there. I forgot about that here. So here we have an option for select all and the clear all option. So we can directly select all the columns here if you want.
Okay, so it's there. Okay.
Yeah.
So I was looking at how you fill each row by row. It takes a longer time. So,
Yes, I forgot about that. Forgot that option. Okay, thanks.
Okay, thanks.
So now we can go back and try to validate the HM configuration. So now if you see something like this means your HM configuration is complete basically. And here like all the colors we have used, all the icons we have used, the small icon, large icon, and whatever privilege we have given, everything gets displayed here. So now we can see that whatever configuration we have done for the HM is correct. And now basically we can go and see the data in HM, but before that we will have to create the records so that we can go and look into the HM data. So I'll just quickly show you. Through the data manager we can insert a couple of records. For example, customer first. So just insert one record here as customer. And here we have to enter this BO class code. So BO class code for the customer is customer. So now this is a mandatory option that previously this was not there, but once we have enabled the HM for this particular column, so BO class code column will be there. So we'll have to add this BO class code column. So I'm creating one customer here, record, and then I will go and create two address records. So because there is a many to many relationship between the customer and the address table as of now. So in the address also I have to use like just put here. And here also we have the country BO class code. So BO class code for this is address. So because we have relationship between address and customer, address one we have not used. So here I have to select BO class code as address. So one customer record is created and two address records are created. So now next is I will go to the relationship table. This is my relationship table, and I will add two records here. So in this I have to specify the customer row ID, address row ID, hierarchy code, and the rel type code. The customer row ID, I have only one customer, so it is showing only the customer name. Address, I have two addresses, so we are getting the address names here. Hierarchy code, we are going to use HI here as a hierarchy code, and relationship type code is HAS. So these two are important columns, hierarchy code and the rel type code. We have to populate these columns. So I am saying that the first customer is related to both the addresses. So this is the relationship that I am creating. Customer 1 now is related to address 2 also. So here you can see customer row ID 1 and address is 1 and 2. The customer ID is related to both the addresses. So now we can go to the hierarchy manager here and do a search here. So when you do a search, you can see the address. Here all the columns that we have selected for address is coming, and if you want to do based on customer, you can click on the customer. It will show you all the columns from the customer table. And if you want to search based on a relationship, you can click on this relationship tab. So where I have two columns, customer row ID and the address row ID. So we'll do a search based on customer, where we can say F%. We have only one customer as such. So this is the search screen. If you do a search, so this is the list screen. So first was search screen, this is the list screen. So in the list screen, whatever columns we have selected, all those columns will get displayed here. We can select this column. You can see this is the label. So in the label, full name is coming, and then whatever is the full name value, that is coming. And when we are pointing the mouse over it, it shows me the first name and the last name, which is a tooltip. And now I want to see the relationship for this record with other entities. So for that I need to click on this and use this option, fetch one hop. Fetch one hop basically shows the immediate relationship of this column with other entities. So it will show like this, that this customer is associated with these two addresses. And when we point the mouse over address, we can see tooltip it is showing as a city. So like this, different views are there based on what type of view we want. We can change the view. So like this is a hierarchical view. We can change the view differently based on like whatever is comfortable to the end user. He can change this view. So different views are available here. So based on that, I can select this and configure it. So similarly, I can go through the other way around. I can go to the address also, and I can select that this address belongs to which customers. So I can just clear this screen. If you want to clear it, you can just select everything, and there is a red button on the top, clear selected. Just clear this, and then again you can go back to search. Now we can search based on address. Address line begins with A%. We can give. So it will show me both the addresses here. So I will just select a single address here. And again, if I do a right click, fetch one hop, it will show that this address is related to this customer. And similarly, so we had seen the search page, we had seen the list page. Now details. If you do a right click, you will see details. You have an option for details. You can see all the details about this particular record. So all the columns that we have selected for details is coming now. And if the user wants to edit it, he can use this edit button and edit the record. So this option is present because you have given option to edit the record. If you don't give an option, this edit will not come. Okay, so just try on this and we will discuss it again. Still some things are remaining. We will discuss about all those things. Means other options like inserting or editing the record directly from the hierarchy manager itself. So we'll be meeting again like on 3rd of October IST time, 6:30.
Vinay, do you know if this part is a part of the lab?
No, this is not part of the lab. So whatever I have done based on that, you can just configure it. Otherwise, there is already the document is there which includes the lab also. But that uses a separate set of tables. So if you want to follow that, you will have to create those tables and then you can follow that. But it's better to create your own tables and do it, because already like you have followed one full document. So now you know the process, or the process you can get in the lab document. The document HM document has all the screenshots of how things has to be done. So just look into that and you configure your own tables, create your own tables and configure the HM. That will be more better. It will be more clear to you how it happens.
Yeah, it's just a lot of steps here.
Yeah. So it means those all steps are mentioned one by one in the lab document. The lab guide is there, which I had shown you. In that, step by step, all these steps are mentioned. So you can just look into that, but use your own tables. Create your own tables, customer address table, or just a single table customer if you want, and configure this. So as of now, because you are doing for the first time, so just create two tables, customer table, address table, and the relationship table. These three tables and configure it. And once you are comfortable, then you can go for a single table, like we discussed employee table, where I have manager, senior manager, and employee. That you can configure it later. First, go with these three tables.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.